Hello everybody again, welcome to another Ask a Bhante. We have a question from Sindu for this week, and it says, I am in the quest for peace and contentment for a long time, practicing meditation for several years. I did see glimpses of contentment over the years. Samsara is giving me headaches for sure due to attachment. Pleasing others as I have been doing from very young. I'm longing for a life in a monastery or an ashram where I can just practice and hopefully have some peace. On the other hand, I also think I have to do some mastery in lay life going through this. I'd like to know from you how things changed for you when you deepen your practice by associating with a monastery and became a monk. Would you recommend that for anyone else? So there's a couple things here. One is the suffering and having headaches due to attachment. That is insight into the nature of reality. The Buddha tells us that because we have attachment, because we grasp, we will then suffer in a variety of different ways. So that's an insight to have this understanding. And pleasing others, as I have been doing from very young. And so this is another aspect of this, where people are kind of trained to always just think about other people, and in some places, in some ways, you're discouraged from thinking about yourself or taking yourself into any kind of consideration. You just kind of become a slave to others, which is not good. That there needs to be a balance. And if you have this kind of training over your whole life, that you should just take care of others, you should focus on others, then it's going to take a lot of training and focus to have a balance in that, to move towards focusing on yourself and training yourself, so that you can work on yourself and work on what needs to be worked on, not just with other people. You are not able to, there's the old, is it Abraham Lincoln? I don't know. It's something like, you can't please all of the people all of the time. Even me, myself as a monk, I'm sure there are people that hate me. I'm sure there are people that are not pleased with me, and there's not much I could ever do to fix that, and I'm okay with that. I don't have enough time in this life to try to have everybody love me or everybody be pleased with me. That's just the way it is. I have no control over how people react and how people see me. It's not worth my time. My time is to develop myself and to share Dhamma. You're longing for life in a monastery. Well, see, this is the thing. When we're in lay life, there's always like, it would be so much nicer, it would be so much easier if I could just go to a quiet monastery. Just escape all this silliness of life. But again, it follows you. Nobody who is ever thinking about wanting to become a monastic should think of going to a monastery as an escape, because it's not. You can think of it as a different mode of life. You can think of it as a different path. But you will not escape life by going into the monastery. In many ways, you'll have to experience samsara, but you'll have less options to do anything about it. So nobody should ever think of going to the monastery or becoming a monastic as an escape. Because if they do, once you do it, you think you're escaping, but then you will suffer. It's like Ajahn Chah says, that where do you think you can go to escape your suffering? If you get on a plane, it will come with you. If you go to the other side of the world, it will come with you. If you become a monastic, it will come with you. This is the nature of things. You cannot escape it. The only way to escape your suffering is to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. That's the only way. You know? Whether you're a layperson or a monk, that's the way to the ending of suffering. On the other hand, I also think I have to do some mastery in lay life to go through this. It's possible. So when it comes to thinking about becoming a monastic, my advice would be to talk to a bunch of monastics about it. Get their advice. Get a wide-ranging view of advice. This is what I did, as much as I possibly could. I didn't know or have the ability to speak to a lot of monks before I became a monk, or at least before I came to Bhavana and things like that. But I got to, talk to a handful and ask their advice. And having that variety actually can be very helpful because, not every person is going to have a different advice, different viewpoint. And one of the best pieces of advice that I got that took me years to understand, I think I've said this so many times, but it was by Venerable Dhammajiva, who taught me walking meditation, one of the most important monks alive today because of that, because how impactful walking meditation was. And he said, become a monk when becoming a monk and not becoming a monk are the same in your mind. And at first I thought, well, what is this? Some kind of Zen koan? You're a Theravada monk. What's going on? But over the years, that as I was going through the process, moving towards monkhood, I understand. I'm okay if I'm a monk. I'm also okay if I'm not a monk. I have my practice. Whether I'm a monk or a layperson, I have my practice. If I can't end up becoming a monk, at least I'll go through the process, and I'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, if I'm not able to become a monk, or I become a monk and later I disrobe, then at least I went through the process. At least I gave it a shot. But I still have my practice either way. And this is very important. So if you really do feel a calling towards becoming a monastic, then examine that calling, play with it a little bit, think about it, contemplate it, talk to monastics about it, and see and practice. Continue with your practice. Your practice is what will lead you towards that calling. At least that's what happened with me. And when I started meditating, I didn't think I was going to be a Buddhist. And when I became a Buddhist, I didn't think I was going to become a monk. This is just the natural process of how this evolved. So, it came to the point for me where, as I was saying before, it's like, what, I think this is what I want to do with my life. And I don't know if I will become, or I don't know if it will be for the rest of my life, but I know that if I don't do it, I'll regret it. At least I'll give it a shot. At least I'll give it a try. And what I would do for 2010 is when I started to really think, maybe possibly the monk's life is for me. And then 2014 is when I went into the monastery to become a monk. And 2008 is when I became a Buddhist. 2007 is when I started really practicing and studying Buddhism. So it was a couple years into it, and I had already been a meditator since about 2005. So it was just a gradual process of insight and the Dhamma opening up in me and it becoming more of a priority to the point where it's something I wanted to do for my life. And to talk about the initial thing about always focusing on others or taking care of others, for me, family was always number one in my life. Family is the most important thing. But I came to a point where Dhamma edged that out. Dhamma was more important, and it was something I felt I needed to do for my own benefit and for the benefit of others. And so even though me leaving would cause distress to people, it was something I needed to do. And so I if you want to put it that way, I put my own path above my family. And I don't regret that. And I'm literally with my family right now. I visit, I see them and things like that. But it's, if you have a calling and it's a strong calling, don't let fear, don't let other people keep you from following that calling. It'll work out good in the end. That's how I believe, and that's how I see it. And that's how it has worked out for me. So if you do have the calling, if the path leads you down that path, if the Dhamma is calling for you to renounce, to live the home, to become homeless and live the holy life, then do it. Give it a shot. At the very worst, you find out it's not for you and you disrobe. Not a big deal. You go back to lay life. Even for me, I don't know if I'm going to be a monk the rest of my life. My intuition says probably, but I've given up predicting the future a long time ago. Because every time I thought I had everything right, life throws a curveball that you never saw coming. So as far as for me, here I am as a monk doing my thing now. And if I ever become a layperson again, well, then I know, I have ideas of what I'd want to do and things like that. It's not being stuck in the lay life because of fear, because you don't know what you're going to do by leaving the lay life is also not a good thing. It's just as bad as having fear or having lots of reasons for not getting into the holy life. So I guess that should answer the question here. The second question about how things change for me and would you recommend it? Yeah, if I recommend it for anybody who has developed enough insight, developed enough nibbida, disenchantment, and dispassion, and who feels the calling. And it's as something that they really wish that they want to do for their life, then I recommend it. So friends, thank you very much for another Ask a Bhante. If you have any questions, not only maybe you know the answer, but it's something that you think that would be good for me to answer, to have it on the channel for many, many people for the years to come to benefit from, then put the question down in the comments. And I'll get to them. I can't guarantee I'll get to them next week, but I will get to them. So friends, until next time, Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy, practice well and be well. May you have a spiritually successful and peaceful week.